We've got Mangrove Rehabilitation in Palmerstone, and the mentor that Kerry has with this is Professor Norm Duke, who's here with us. So it's just fantastic. All of these projects have such strong mentoring and two-way exchange of information happening. So could you please come up again, Kerry, and Professor Norm Duke?
Yeah, probably back in about 2008, we started looking at the health of our river. We started more up in the Maroochy. My family grew up in the Maroochy. We're traditional owners from the Maroochy. My father was born there with 11 brothers, and we still got the block of land down there today where all my ancestors grew up. So a lot of these estuaries and rivers and that, they are very important to our old people. They were food sources and pretty much, you know, like supermarkets today. But we've got to start looking after our river systems, and this is one way that we found that we can give back to a lot of that, you know, a lot of them rivers and that was planting out mangroves where there was a lot of erosion and you know, just a lot of disturbance there. So we started propagating about 4 different species of mangroves, and we had a nursery down where my grandmother lived on the Maroochy River. These are some of the first times when we were doing it. So we'd collect a lot of these mangrove seeds and pot them up into peat pots, let the tide go over them, and plant them out in probably about 6 to 8 weeks' time. This is yeah, some of the bunya fellas planting out down on the river there. Back to that other shot that Susie just clicked over, was we were putting, you know, for the protection of the mangroves so they could get back up as the coil logs and that. So we'd done that all through the Maroochy, and there's a lot of these places, they're in different, you know, fish habitat 1, fish habitat 2, but at the same time you've got water skiing and people just going, you know, round and round, and major impact on the banks and that. So the coil logs were a very important part of establishing, you know, getting that first established mangroves up and that. Yeah, that was my son there, planting out mangroves down the old place there. So as you can see that, you know, we've got a lot of mangroves, grey mangroves there coming up, doing its job. And today when you go back to these places, some of these mangroves are 15 foot tall, and you know, all their propagills are breaking a lot of the boat wash and doing what they needs to be done. Yeah, you know it. I'll just keep going with this a bit. Yeah, some of the reds and oranges. This was actually, you can talk about this because you designed this.
Hello everyone. I'm a mangrove ecologist, but working with traditional owners, with Kerry and the other people, and I'm talking about agencies and others. The idea with this project and the objective I saw has got links to the previous talks where there was management of terrestrial landscapes, but it's possible, and we believe from what Kerry's been saying, that there was also management of intertidal vegetation, mangroves and salt marsh as well. Really important habitat, because in that previous talk also, and I think there was an image showing the sea level changes that have occurred in this area of the last 10,000, 20,000 years. Sea levels have risen dramatically already. Should be no surprise that they can rise some more. But in that process, when we talk about intertidal vegetation, we've there's a transitional phase. You know, I mean, there's a protection of those shorelines that is ongoing. But to maintain that protection, the forest, the vegetation of the mangroves and the salt marsh needs to be maintained. And that's where the planting skills, all those nurturing roles are undertaken, have this immense value, because there's immense value well, we also heard in the previous talks about the cockles and the whelks, etc. And of course the oysters. Where are they all coming from? The intertidal zone. That zone is absolutely critical, and its stability longer term, it has to be maintained. And I think that it's pretty clear that Aboriginal people were made doing that job, as well as those seedlings that you were talking about. But someone had to put those seedlings there, has to look after them, etc. So my role in this, coming in to a damaged site in Pumicestone Passage at Golden Beach, was to develop some, other tech sort of innovations to stabilise a shoreline that's been severely damaged already, and so the techniques applied here are sort of trying to stabilise that shoreline as quickly as possible. Seedlings, you can see, are not evident in this image at the moment. They come later. First thing that had to be done was to apply some soft engineering, changing the profile of that landscape so that it develops what we call a sweet spot for mangroves. That spot is between mean sea level and the high water mark. And in that zone, we've installed sort of buffers to tidal, erosion that comes with all that inundation. And after the buffering and the slope, all those soft engineering things have been done, then there's sort of some scree slope of rocks, rubble, etc., that actually helps enormously. So we've been managing to do that, and the aim is to get it to look more like this, because this is intertidal zone mangroves, where there is clearly less erosion, because there's so much vegetation, so much root structure holding the sediments together. And if you look in this picture here, we're doing surveys in other places, like up the Maroochy River. If you look at the background in that image, you can see bank erosion, steep banks, etc. Clearly, there's a need for slowing down these erosion processes. We know that sea levels are rising in these areas. This process is important to slow down the vegetation, etc. Won't stop the erosion, but it will enable us to, reduce the sort of damage that's taking place. So I think with our surveys, I'm learning a lot from what landscape work has been done. So I've really enjoyed the process of working with Kerry and the Kabi people in providing some of my knowledge and to learn from your knowledge too. Thank you. Okay.
It's certainly great to see so much active work caring for country. And Kerry, well done, mate. You're right in the middle of it, helping all your families.